What's going on, guys, and welcome back to our Surviving Java series. There's a couple of things that I need to catch you guys up on. Before we ended last episode off, I believe I mentioned that I was going to be moving all of our storage system from up there. Well, not really system, but all of our chests. So I sort of laid them all out down here now, and I've made sure that we've sort of future-proofed it, so we've got a bunch more extra slots available and free, ready for all the new blocks in the 1.16 update. So we've got all of our colour chests up there, which is obviously going to hold our coloured terracotta, coloured wall, coloured glass, all them bits and pieces. We've got our standard usual wood blocks, and then our wood plank types, and then we've got the stone types, the sand, gravel, sandstone, the standard terracotta, which is up there, which we should actually have quite a bit of. Yeah, and the way that I've laid this out is ready in order for me to be able to whack the Tango text sorting system behind. Now, I probably will be making one or two changes. I'm obviously going to have a deep storage module either here or over there. I'm not 100% landed on the sort of layout and everything that I want for it, but I'm just sort of going to wing it as I go. But that's definitely not what we're going to be working on today. I'm trying to remember what we done last episode. Last episode we done the, Bad Omen farm. Yeah. So today I said I actually want to make some progress on our base and actually get a little bit of the cosmetic side done. That is actually going to be in the way there. So what I actually want to do is get the 4 towers that are surrounding our conduits up. Now, I actually spent a bunch of time in creative coming up with different designs and seeing which one I preferred and what sort of style and colour blocks, or not colour blocks but colour palettes. But I think it's easier if I just hop over into my creative world and show the... I came up with I think 3 or 4 different concepts of what I wanted them to look like. And the one that I landed on I'm quite happy with. So let's hop over there and check them out. Alright, so we're over here in my test world, and the 4 designs that I came up with are these ones over here. Some of them aren't complete because I started building them and I just really didn't like the look of them. So our first one was made out of an absolute ton of the nether quartz blocks. And as much as I do like this sort of concept, it's got sort of like the chain link fencing design going up and down each of the 4 sides with some pillar columns going up. And I do like it, and I wouldn't mind building in this sort of style, but even with the sort of quartz block manufacturing system we got working with our villagers, it would take so long to try get enough quartz to continue the build style. And obviously the build style that we set out for these 4 towers is sort of going to mimic its way over to the rest of the base. So yeah, as much as I did like this design, I don't think that's going to be a very plausible way to go, because otherwise the majority of our base is going to have to be made out of quartz. And yeah, I don't mind doing the finer details in quartz, like the outcropping in the floor or the cornices in the corners or anything like that, but the entire sort of main build structures, it's just, yeah, I as much as I do like this design, especially with the glass, and because it will have water inside, I couldn't really figure out a top to put on it, and I tried about 40 different variations and I didn't really like any of them. But that's the first one that I sort of came up with. That one took me a good like 2-3 hours to sort of put together to try to figure out how I wanted it to look. Then I was trying different block palettes. So we've got like the stripped birch logs, which go pretty well with the diorite and the orange terracotta. And I do like it, but it's more sort of beach feel than it is sort of ocean. So I sort of leant away from that and went completely off the board with mainly orange and white. As you can see, orange and white is going to be our main theme of colours for this like entire base sort of build. And this one, it's okay, it's nowhere near as good as that one, but I was just trying something. I've never used the red sandstone before, and it's got a very sort of Mayan look to it. So we went from there, and then I chose to work with just blocks that I know that I can get a lot of relatively easy. So I've landed on this one, and this one I actually completed all the way up to the top just so I could get an idea of exactly how it would look. Now, you've got to bear in mind that this section from this bottom bit here all the way up to this bit here is going to be underwater, and we've got the glass sections which are going to be housing our conduit inside of there. And then we've got sort of like a lighthouse tower that leads up to a main sort of outpost look thing. I've not actually done a flooring in there, so it's just hollow all the way through. We've got the ceiling in place, and I really like the polished diorite because we've got the connected textures on them. You don't get the stupid like block things in between each one. So if I'm highlighting, it'll be like that and then like that, and so on and so forth. And then we've got little indents with the stairs, which sort of break up the straightness of each of the corners. And I think it's got a lot of depth to it. I'm quite happy with the way they turned out because from the front thing, you've got what, 1, 2, and then 3 different layers, and then the glass sort of adds another sort of layer of depth because you can see all the way through to the other side. And then even with the columns up top with the fence posts in, I think it sort of just adds little bits and details. And obviously we can still add little bits of details, and we're going to have sort of the ocean life built up around the base of it. So we're probably going to have coral around the base and seagrass and more than likely some kelp or something. But I'm quite happy the way that it's sort of turning out. And considering that I spent a stupid amount of time coming up with different designs for just what is simply going to be a very small part of our overall base build, but because we're going to have 4 of them all encompassing the conduits, I thought it's best off to sort of take the time and make sure that I was happy with it, especially considering it's sort of going to mimic the way that we lead with the rest of our base, especially when it comes to design and sort of block palette. And I think landing on diorite, although it is a little bit of a pain to get hold of, not many people choose to build out of diorite, and it means that a lot of people are just going to have spare diorite sitting around that I can probably pinch, which is definitely good. Initially I did have a acacia logs running through the center here instead of the redstone lamps. What I did have initially was just a log running across here as like a supporting beam. And then I sort of ran the idea past Mac to see what he reckons, and he says that it looks good, but you've got to get rid of the beam. And yeah, he was definitely right. And I was testing all different blocks in there, but the only sort of block that matched the sort of colour palette was the redstone lamps, because it's got like the orangey or the dark sort of orange colours and the blacks, and which sort of go well with the diorite. And I've been trying to figure out a way to get these active, besides having to put redstone blocks directly behind them. But I'm fairly sure that's something that we could sort of venture down the line. Now, I was planning on doing time lapses of me building the 4 towers, and I didn't want to take up the majority of the episode by doing jump cuts of me building it, when I could just show you how it looks in here, and an easier way of me being able to build all 4 of them to be exact replicas from one another is actually using the schematic mod. And I actually went ahead and installed that. Now, as much as I'm against downloading schematics from other people's builds and building them in my world, creating something in Creative World and then using a schematic on it to then place it into Survival World, because you're still having to get all the blocks, you're still having to place them all, it's just saving me the hassle of having to look at 2 monitors constantly. So I've actually gone ahead and got a schematic of this, so we can hop back over into our multiplayer world, and we can go and see if we can't lay out the schematic correctly. And that's if I remember all the shortcut keys. So I had to rebind everything, because obviously we got like the map mod and we got the basic fabric sort of mod, so we can get like the light overlays and whatnot. But if I remember correctly, if we bring this guy up and we go load schematics, we've got a conduit tower, we go load, there we go, and then we can exit this. So there we go. What we want to do is actually come into the middle here, and if I do remember correctly, we want to go schematic placements, configure, then we can mess about with this guy. We want to bring it, oh no, this way. I went one too far, and then is it like that, do you reckon? I think that might be right. No, it is not. Okay, so we want to shift it 1 block over to the right. So schematic, configure, that way? I think that's right. Oh, no. Oh, okay, so we need to go 1 more block over to the right, and I think 1 block forward. By the way, obviously, if you can't tell, I have not used this schematic model that much. I've just got a very basic understanding of it. So you want to go one over that way and one more over that way. Should have a 1 block gap around the actual conduit, and it means that we should just have one corner piece sitting in each of them. So you can sort of get a rough idea of what's it gonna look like here. What it is going to look like is the correct turn of phrase I'm aiming for there. So it's going to come up there, and obviously we've got the base bit there, and the watchtower comes up and out of water, which is pretty much how I wanted it. It's pretty much how I measured it out. That I knew the bottom section was going to be a base just to highlight and box in the conduits. And yeah, so it just means a bunch of block placing for me 4 times over. I'm going to have to move our little budget makeshift cow pen over there, because otherwise it's going to interfere with that one. But yeah, what I'll do is I'm going to crack on and get all 4 of these knocked out, hopefully by the end of tonight. And then hopefully when they're done tomorrow I can bring you back. So yeah, catch you back tomorrow, I guess. Alright, so 1 day later and a good 7 hours worth of absolute solid building, and we finally got all 4 towers up and done. Now I did actually want to, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before building these, but I did actually want to do a time lapse of building them, but unfortunately the only sort of mod or program is actually only for 1.14 version, which is the replay mod, and it's the only worthwhile one that you can actually really do a decent time lapse in without having to pay for a separate account to actually log on as a spectator to do it. And I didn't fancy buying another version of Minecraft just to have a spectator account, unfortunately. But hopefully by the time we do any more massive building, that the mod will be updated. Fingers crossed. Either that or I might just buy the bullet in order to get the time lapses and just get a second account. It wouldn't be too much problem. It's just having 2 versions or 2 instances of Minecraft open. But yeah, nevertheless, let's quickly have a fly around so you can sort of get the full view of what it looks like. Can we just bob on over here? There we go. And let's just fly away a little bit just so that we get a clear view. Yeah, I think it looks alright. It looks very sort of uniformed, like they're exactly in the right locations in each of the corners. Well, say corners a circle, like there's corners, no, but each on the diagonal surfaces of the actual rings. Now, the only thing with this is that I didn't realise how big they were in comparison to the rest of the circle. It's actually making the circle look pretty small considering from how big it is. So what I may end up doing is this outside line I was actually going to have as the external wall face, and then obviously have the wall be about 2 or 3 blocks wide going around. But what I'm thinking now is actually to have a bigger circle encompassing this one to make it 3 odd blocks on the outside, and then have this as like the internal of the external wall, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the way these turn out, and it's actually helped me out massively with the sort of scope of how big this build is going to be and the sort of build style that we're going to be going in. Now, regarding where the conduits are, what I'm thinking of doing is actually bringing, can I just land so I can stand up? There we go. Is bringing some of the coral and stuff inside just to make it look like alive and sort of a little bit busy but not overly busy, but just so that you know that these are what's breathing life into the area, which is essentially what they are, which is the conduits. And I'm quite happy with the way this turned out, actually. I'm very happy with the colour scheme. I'm very surprised at how well the diorite looks. I think it's just because we've got the connected textures on the polished diorite, so you don't get all of the like blockness of it. Like each one of them would have been a separate block otherwise, and I don't think it would have looked nearly as nice as it does. And it's a heck of a lot easier to get hold of diorite than it is quartz as a main building block. Although as much as I did like the initial design that I came up with, I'm actually quite liking this style. And I quite like the little divots in the wall and the sort of depth it gives, because there's actually like 3 layers. So you've got that layer, that layer, that layer, and then these sort of divots give it sort of like a vision of like another layer, if that makes sense. It just sort of adds a lot of depth to the build, and I think it's important when you're building very large, like very large scale buildings. Obviously this is nowhere near as big as the scale as the main building, which is obviously going to be centered. Go away, squid. Centered here. The center building is going to take a lot of designing and time and effort put in on my part to make it look nice, and obviously it's going to have to completely trump the scale of these ones. But that's going to be a project for another day. But I thought that you should have a look to see what all of this come out as, and I'm quite happy. I still need to figure out sort of lighting options for inside and what I actually want to do just on the inside, because they sort of look like what is it called? Lighthouses. Yeah, that is what it's called. They sort of look like little lighthouses. Oh no, they're on my case now. I should really go sleep before they start wrecking my face. Ouch. I hate the fact that they could just like fly underneath the water, and they tend to follow me all the way down here as well. We sleep. There we go. So yeah, with that out of the way with, I didn't really want that taking up the entirety of the episode, so I've actually got a different little project I want to get on with, and that is completing this room. And I've cleared out more area just above them, and what my plan is that for above these I actually want to put sugarcane farms, and I want the sugarcane farms in order that way we can just get paper on the go in order to trade with our librarians. I'm not too sure how many of these even have paper trades, but we also need a cow farm at some point as well. Like, that guy's not got a paper trade, have you? No? Oh my god, I was just looking for the books more than paper. This guy's got paper. This guy's got paper. This one's got paper. Please have paper. Oh, 3 out of the 6 isn't dreadful. And I'm getting tons of emeralds by trading stone and all the random rubbish that we're not using. So I've got like more than enough emeralds to keep us going, and I've been steadily building up our supply of nether quartz blocks. So we've got an absolute ton of them in order to play around with designing this room. Now what I want to do is, first of all, let's get our redstone box out. And let's get piston, you, and what else do we need? So you, we're going to need some randomoso blocks as well. Got any junky garbage blocks? Oh, we can just use some acacia wood for now. Can't. You know what? No, let's just use some polystyrene. There we go. Being indecisive as ever. Oh, come on. Get up there, will you? So, how are we going to do this? We're going to want a minecart track running along here, because we're probably going to want the glass going along this layer. Or do we want it like... Yeah, we probably want it going in by one. So we want the glass on this layer. This is going to be where our minecart track is, picking up the sugarcane. And then this is going to be our line of pistons. So let's just say minecart track is going to be 1 block onto there, which means our sugarcane is going to be there. Piston's going to be, say, here. And then we're going to want, say, our observer. Do that, do that. I want our observer facing into you. And then redstone dust into you. And pretty cute. There we go. Yeah, so the plan is that we're going to... Oh, maybe not. Because obviously we can't swap these blocks. Oh, that, no, we can't, can we? Yeah, and I'm sounding like the villagers again. We're probably going to have to bump it all up by 1 block, aren't we? And we've got just about enough room to be able to do that as well. Yeah, you're easier to break. They're meant to be fixing pistons, so they break quicker with pickaxe. So, yeah, thank God for that. So if we bring this up by 1, bring you up by 1, can we just get out of here? And then we want to go you, and then let's just couple of you guys, like so. And then observer, redstone, and then break all of them. I'll get them blocks back. Yeah, so that way we can have our sand or our... Oh my god, is that still not going to work? We may actually have to take it up even 1 more. How is it I'm getting this so wrong? Let me go grab some dirt. And let's see if we can't figure this one out. I'm just trying to think of exactly where we can have the track and where we can have the dirt or sand, whichever we choose to use. Do that. Some track. And I think that should be it. I was going to grab my trident, but it's in my ender chest, so I put it away because I had to go. Yeah, the only thing that I didn't actually have on hand was the acacia wood and the what is it called, redstone lamps. So I ended up having to go into the nether, so I put all of my valuable tools away, so then I could just fly around the nether. And I very nearly died in lava and almost lost all of my stuff. I was on fire. I was down to like half a heart, and yeah, it was very, very dodgy. Okay, so let's grab. I forgot to grab dirt, didn't I? What am I up at? Oh, we got some dirt here, but we're probably going to want grass rather than dirt. Although from this angle, you're probably not going to see it. Yeah, so I don't think it really matters all that much. Okay, so we say our track's going there, isn't it? Yes. So say that's our track here, which means we're going to want our dirt. Can I get dirt on my hotbar, please? So we're going to want our dirt here, which means we're going to have to take this up by another block. Oh, this is fun. Thank you. Do that, do that. And then we want, say, you. And come on, guy. Oh, please don't be water. Thank you. I know that there's a bunch of water on that side, so it's going to be very iffy trying to do this on the other side. Do that. Do this. Okay, so take 5, I think this is going to be. Oh, come on, really? What's the chances? Okay. It's all going wrong. Whenever I try to do something on camera and I'm trying to get it done quickly, I end up making 10 times more mistakes than what I'm doing usually. Then we're going to want, what's it, redstone dust just back here. Did I put redstone dust? Really? Okay. Yes, I did. Okay, so that is how it's going to look. We can have a back-end of... I'm probably going to go concrete on this one for the back-end. And then we're going to have our minecart picking it all up, and then probably come into the center with a couple of hoppers, forcing it into a chest, and then doing its lap going back and forth. And I'll probably just have the minecart constantly going rather than having it stop and start whenever something gets harvested. But I think this is going to be the best route. And I think with that placed as it is, I can probably just run these all the way across. And then put the redstone on and place the observers from behind rather than finicking around with it. Yeah, I think that should be alright. And then we can have some backing of, say, white concrete, we said. Say, white concrete. Let me just make sure that we can sort of... Oh, let's see, so we can definitely still see the dirt from here. Which means I think having grass is probably going to be the better choice. And obviously we're going to have to irrigate it. So we're going to have probably waterlogged half slabs or stairs going along this side. And we're going to need a block underneath. So if we do that, and then, yeah, because we're going to have waterlogged blocks here. Which means you're only going to be able to see the top end of it, which isn't too much of an issue. I will swap out this block for, obviously, white concrete because, yeah, looks better. Then we can have that running along. But yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this all laid out and sort of polished up. And what I'm thinking for decoration-wise is we're going to continue with the beams, the pillars, not beams, but you know, technically they're beams and pillars at the moment, aren't they? So if we grab some of these guys, and my plan is we're going to be using white glass again just because it looks a lot cleaner. And again, I'm sounding like the villagers. That's all I can hear is So we're going to want to take this beam up, aren't we? And then bring it along. So if we say have it coming across like that. Is that going to be tall enough? Yeah, I think it will be. We do something like that. I'm gonna fall off if I just keep on tapping backwards. And then say bring it down to here. We could probably just get rid of this one slice and just start it from here. Just so it looks a little bit more uniformed. Well, I think we may actually have to swap out this pillar, but for now we're just gonna bring it straight down. And it does mean swapping out that end one as well. Oh, what did I break there? Nah, nothing valuable, it's fine. Do that. And then for the ceiling, we're going to have an indented diorite, and I think flooring, we're going to go with acacia woods. Yeah, acacia wood planks, just to match the sort of cubicles that our villagers are in. And then the end, I've got an iron golem down there. I'm going to try to think of something to do with him. I may put him in like a glass window at the back. And because we've got an absolute bunch of emeralds, I may actually put them on display somewhere as well. Yeah. I think we could definitely polish this room off pretty nicely. And then obviously I'm going to be flooding it all, so got that to look forward to. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get everything sort of done. Like, you've got the basic idea of how I'm going to be doing the redstone, just bog standard sugarcane farm. You're probably screaming at me, I'll just do a couple of the 0-tick sugarcane farms, you'll get 100 times more for 0 the amount of effort, but yeah, I much prefer the sort of larger looking scale farms and production lines and actually put in the work in. I think the thing with me with the 0-tick farms is it's weird. It's a case that, yeah, you know, if you're going to go full efficiency with least amount of effort, which in Minecraft people tend to do quite a lot, but I think there's a very slight borderline between sort of abusing the game mechanics to cheating, and I think the 0-tick machines is walking that line very, very tightly. It's one of them cases that it's definitely not an intended feature in Minecraft. It's something that someone has figured out. I think it was Mango, who may have figured out, I think it's Mango who figured it out initially, and I think it's abusing the sort of way that Minecraft registers things and updates things, that he's sort of abusing the game mechanic. And obviously there's some game mechanics that people use that aren't intended, which, yeah, there is definitely, especially when it comes to, I was watching, I think it was Impulse yesterday, who was doing a tour of someone else's server, and they was using redstone on top of the nether in order to control the weather in the overworld, which I think is insane. And yeah, that is good because it's not intended to be able to be used like that, but you should see the amount of work that they've had to put in for it to actually work that way. And I think it's worthwhile. If there's a lot of work involved, sort of like Guardian farms can be super OP, but you have to put in an absolute ton of work in order to get them to work. But the 0-tick farms, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of. It just seems too easy. It's just like, well, if you want things to be that easy, just go playing creative. It's one of them sort of matter of opinion things, and it's just some people like the 0-tick farms because they're very tidy, they're very compact, they're very, very efficient. Not getting you wrong there, there's probably the best route to go if you're looking for large scale farms that produce insane amounts of stuff for a minimal amount of work. You can have an absolute ton of 0-tick farms. But for me, it's just, I don't know, I think it's just too much of an abuse of a game mechanic, unfortunately. I like making a little bit difficulty for myself. That doesn't sound right, does it? I like making it a little bit more difficult for myself is the correct line for that. But yeah, nevertheless, that's my views on it. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I'm going to crack on and get all of this sort of done, dusted, polished, and hopefully bring you back for the finished product. Yeah, catch you back in a bit. Alright then guys, so after a good few hours working on this, I finally managed to get it done. It's now the following morning for me. By a good few hours, I meant a good about 5 or 6 hours last night, figuring it all out, getting all the details and decorating it. But as you can tell, the entranceway is very similar to that of our kelp farm just over there. We've got the sort of never caught stairs framing the central walkway of acacia planks, just sort of to match the sort of cubicles that our villagers are in. Now I've had to do full blocks here just so that we're at the right height to still trade with these guys, and obviously this place is now completely flooded, so we can swim around here freely, and our minecart should actually be going around and picking up all of this sugarcane, so it should disappear momentarily, he says. There we go, so it's all getting picked up. I was just making sure. It's the first time I've actually looked at it to make sure that it's picking it up, and yeah, luckily it is actually collecting it all, and it should then be taking it down to our chest just down there. And yeah, we've actually enclosed our little iron golem off in the back just for a sort of decorational piece, and then we've got a little vault area up there holding a bunch of our emerald blocks just for display purposes really. There's no way to get in or out of there, so but I thought it was a nice little addition just to sort of tie the room together. We've gone with the diorite ceiling again, just with the sort of cornices and a little cornerway, just to add a little bit more depth. And it all seems to be working out pretty nicely actually. Now there are a couple of unfortunate things that I ran into. One is this stupid little water thing up in this corner and that corner. I've tried so many different ways to get rid of them, and for some reason that I just can't. I've replaced the pillars, I've made sure there's no air gaps either side or behind it, so I've had to make sure that all of these diorite blocks are full blocks instead of half slabs, which they were. And then I did have the same issue with the ceiling, but the ceiling was easily fixed by waterlogging the half slabs and stairs, but you can't waterlog a full block, so I really don't know how to get rid of that thing there. And also, as I did mention before I even discussed flooding this place, is that because the cubicles need to be air gaps because otherwise the villagers would drown, we're going to have this water flowing thing going across the little gap where we can do the trades with them. That's just unavoidable unless we keep the actual trapdoors closed permanently, but then it means having to run like a redstone signal to them, and it's just, to trade with them I'm going to have to open them anyway. Just having them open and just dealing with that little bit of window water flowing look, it's just something that we're just going to have to deal with, I'm afraid. But other than that, I'm quite happy with the way that it's turned out, and I think the white glass was definitely a better choice than the clear glass, because it just looks a lot cleaner and a lot more clearer and nicer than the actual clear glass, because the clear glass has the frames obviously around it, and you can see the strakes. Yep, words were getting proper mumbled this morning. Mumbled or jumbled, whichever one you want to pick. But yeah, the streaks and the framing of the clear glass, just they show up 10 times more than the little streaks you get on the white glass. So the white glass tends to look a lot more cleaner. And I'm very happy with the way that it's turned out, and I think we've made more than enough progress for one episode. We've got our 4 towers built, as well as the villager trading hall area for our quartz production completely finished, polished off, with an additional sugarcane farm. Yep, I've definitely met my quota for productivity for the day, and unfortunately that is definitely all that we're going to have time. Oh my god, it's so early for me to be finishing off an episode because my words are just getting so jumbled. It's insane. Yeah, it's definitely going to be that time for me just to wrap up today's episode, because I'm not too sure how much of this episode I'm going to have to cut up or sort of chip away at, because I know that the recording time of it is like nearly about an hour and 10 minutes. So I'll definitely be editing down in before releasing it, and just chucking, or sort of just cutting out all of the stuff that I don't really particularly need in the video, which is going to be large sections of me talking. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you're happy with the progress and the towers that we've made, and I will hopefully catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.